I thought it would be prudent to talk about reality and to give a more practical example of how it works. Of course, how I think it works, but to give an example, a kind of a working model of how reality works and how we live through this manufactured existence. Now, it's important before I get into this, let's talk about two things. One, in no way am I trying to, in any of my talks, am I trying to devalue existence? In no way. In fact, I'm trying to increase the value of existence. I want people to appreciate the value that they are here. Because if you are here, if you incarnate here, you went through a very lengthy process that you have forgotten, because that's part of the process. You don't need to know all the technical details. But you went through a very lengthy process to be here. So it's not an accident you're here. And some people, they feel that they don't belong here. And that goes completely against the process of getting here. You wouldn't go through this process of getting here and then you've arrived at the wrong spot, right? Now, sometimes those negative feelings are due to attacks, are due to disinformation, it can be part of the disinformation, part of the false information out there that you don't belong, right? And that people should, people committing suicide, people destroying their lives and going into drugs. It goes completely against this entire process to go somewhere and then rejecting that. So if you feel you don't belong, if you feel you want to kill yourself, it's a complete fallacy. And that's usually, in my view, that's likely of an attack, of a manipulation, or you got the wrong information, and that you are a little bit, you're lonely or depressed or whatever it is, but you're working with the wrong information. So the right information is to say, I am here because I belong here. There's no mistake. There's no mistake. There's a mistake in your understanding. There's a mistake in your perception. Quite often, there are attacks. There are psychological attacks, whether it's disinformation, whether it's a negative information, whether it's chemical, you're eating, your vibration, your frequency is off. And then if you have psychological issues and traumas, that's a whole different thing. I'm not qualified to do any medical stuff. But from a reality science perspective, if you are here, you belong here. There's no mistake. So get used to it. Embrace, see, the idea I have these talks because I want you to embrace life. I want you to value your life. It's very important. You chose it and you get it, and now you need to live it. Now, so the issue is, along the way, we've lost a lot of information. We've lost the information of the incarnation contract, which I've talked about. We've lost the information of karma, how it works. We've lost the information of learning, how you want to graduate, you want to learn, you want to move on, how you want to experience certain things, how you constructed your life. And, you construct the basic blocks of your life, and then when you get here, you start to refine your choices. And that's because of all the influences. And that's where you can get lost, that you can get manipulated, and you can make poor choices, right? So, for example, if everybody wants to be famous, well, that doesn't make sense, because everybody can't be famous. So there's some kind of manipulation going on, some kind of brainwashing. And so you have to get back to, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be famous. Maybe it's something else, right? And so these little things can mislead you, right? I should be rich. Everybody should be rich. Well, maybe not. Because that contradicts the purpose of coming here to learn. That contradicts the individuality of everybody. It wouldn't make sense that everybody came here to get rich. It doesn't make sense. That denies you your individuality, and it assumes that everybody is at the same level, and we all have to do the same thing. And when you go to a university, everybody doesn't take philosophy, right? Everybody doesn't take business. Hey, everybody should take marketing when you go to university, right? Everybody should become a veterinarian. Like if you went to university and everyone said you need to be a veterinarian and everybody wants to be a veterinarian, well, guess what? You're at veterinary school. You're not at university anymore because everybody wants to be a veterinarian. But when you go to university, a college, there's all of these choices, right? So it doesn't make sense that everybody should be X, Y, and Z, or A, B, and C, or some limited profession. You know, go back to why you came here. And that's a process because, you know, you've been misled, or you have the wrong information, or you've been brainwashed, or you let yourself, right, be misled. It's not difficult to be misled because there's all of this false information, right? All of this false information. Okay. So let's get into now my scenario of the opera of reality, and I'll give you sort of my idea in simplified form. Okay, I'm not saying this is it. I'm saying this is an analogy. I'm going to simplify it. So that we can work with it, you can use it, you can work with it. And this doesn't mean I have all the answers and I've resolved everything and I'm living out the best life. Because that's not even the goal of life. The goal of life is not to have the best of everything. That might be the goal of some people, but that doesn't mean the goal of everybody, right? The goal is to appreciate why you came here and to fulfill that journey. That's the goal. And you may have more hardship than other people. And there's no mistake. I don't think there's a mistake. There's a mistake in your perception. Because we don't have this education. The things I'm talking about, reality, it's a completely new concept for some people. And it's completely it's outside of the spiritual. I've taken it outside of the spiritual a little bit. Okay, there's so much to explain. So we've gone through a lot of the different things, basic ideas, and you come into this reality. Okay, so let's think about reality as a stage. Okay, let's reduce it and simplify it, and so that we can understand it. So let's call it a stage. Now, we all know theater. Think theater. There's a stage, right? A simple stage, and sometimes there's a curtain. Sometimes there's no curtain. There's a stage. Now, there's a stage for what? For a play, right? A theatrical production. A production means we need a script and we need a cast. A cast. So we need, we need male hero, female protagonist. We need antagonist. We need the villain. We need supplementary characters. We need background characters. We need basic characters. We need assistants and helpers. We need all of these people. But in a play, there's a certain cast members are key, and some are supplementary, and some are tertiary, right? The background. Okay, so there's different levels of players. Now, so we have a stage, we have a cast, there's a script. There's some kind of script, there's some kind of story. And behind the scenes, we have a director, we have a stage manager, we have a producer, different levels of producers, we have administrative people, we have the set designer, lighting, sound, all of these things, right? We'll call them the crew, the crew. So let's push the crew to the side. We're talking about the cast. You are one of the cast members. Now, because you're on a stage, so let's say I'm on a stage, I'm wearing a costume. What does that mean? That means that I've been cast as a character. So I'm not sure what character I am. I look in the mirror and I'm wearing a pirate outfit. And that means I'm playing a pirate. Maybe I'm a pirate king. And then I start to remember my lines. I'm a pirate king. Right? So you look at your wardrobe. You look at your house. You look at your life. You look at your room. You look at the degrees on the wall. If none of that tells you what you are, you look at your friends. Your friends will tell you what you are. You're a jerk! You're a big jerk! Maybe you're playing the jerk. Yeah, maybe you're playing the drug addict. Or maybe not. Maybe drug addict is not a role. So let's keep going. Okay, so you're cast as a character. Now, you are here, you're incarnated. That means you have been cast. There's no mistake. Okay, you have a big part, small part, dumb part. This is what you are. And now you have forgotten the casting process. You forgot about all the auditions. You forgot about your dream to be on a stage, because you're on a stage now. You're like, oh my God, this is real, right? All of that stress is gone. Now there's the reality. I have to act. And you're like, I don't belong here. I can't remember my lines. This is not for me, right? All of the negative, all of the fears come out. That's completely normal. Anybody who's been on a stage, all kind of weird stuff comes at you, and it takes years of training to reduce those anxieties. And that's one reason why they use drugs. Okay. I'm not promoting drugs, but I am saying that it is a problem. Okay, it is a problem. But maybe we'll try to address it here. So you're on a stage, you got to act. So you're acting, you're living your life. And your life is best when you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking, I go to work, I have my friends, I go through my issues, and I learn this, and I go to school, and I exercise, and I eat, and I learn stuff, and I talk, and I drink. Whatever you do, okay? I drive a truck. You play out your role. That's your role. Now, your life, you may play different careers, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. It doesn't change your soul, right? It doesn't change your identity. You're still the same person. You're just wearing a different costume. So you're playing a character on a stage, and then you meet other characters. You have to interact with these other characters who have all come here, who've all been cast to play out the role, right? You're playing the protagonist, and you go up against the antagonist, the villain. And you have to play your role. You say, well, I want to be an antagonist. I want to be a villain. Well, that's not why you came here. You came here to be a protagonist. You're this character. Stay in character. Play out your role. Now, some people have trouble with their lives. They don't like their lives. They don't like themselves. They get brainwashed. They go through some traumatic experiences. and they start to slip. So imagine a play, a live play, right? And all of these characters are playing, are acting. And the main character is on the ground taking drugs. And during a live performance, the actor is taking drugs. And what does that mean? They can't say their lines, right? The audience is watching. You know that one of the characters he's on the ground taking drugs, and the stage manager's having a heart attack. What are you doing? And she or he can't interrupt the play, right? They can shut off the lights, and they can send in somebody in a black outfit. Hey, wake up! You forgot your lines. Hey, man, right? He's all doped up on heroin or whatever. Now, so imagine this is real life. So the person who's always on drugs, or who's now homeless or somewhere else, completely out of it, is now not acting. Is not doing what they're supposed to do. So the character is on the ground. Now the other characters, now they have to improvise to work around this moron who refuses to partake, right? Now, you never see this happen on a stage because they're all professionals. They go there and they do their lines and they act. But imagine an actor goes on the stage and goes out of character and starts doing heroin and collapses on the stage. What are the other actors supposed to do? They would cancel the production. But in reality, you can't cancel production. So we have to improvise. So what does that mean? The other actors now have to change their scripts in order to go work around these people who are not acting, who are out of character. Now, let's say drug is a very, I've been talking a lot about drug. Drug is a very real, harsh example, but it takes a person out. And then the other people have to improvise. But there are other things too. Let's say the actor, the character motivations and their script, they think they should be famous or rich instead of becoming a mechanic and fixing cars. So they're not fixing cars anymore. They're now chasing off fame and fortune. So the other characters are like, hey, we need you to fix cars. No, man, I'm going off over here. So they're out of character. So now the change in one person has a radial effect on other people. So now let's say I needed my car fixed, and this character was supposed to fix my car. And in doing so, we would form a friendship. That doesn't happen. So now we have changed reality. You see that? So there's the drug example. It's a bit harsh, but it shows the stupidity of the situation. But just as stupid is this character jumping out of character because they've been brainwashed. I need to be famous and rich and famous. Well, that may be for some people, but that may not be for you, right? So now you're off character. Now there's a ripple effect. Now let's say that this woman is supposed to be a doctor, and she or he is going to heal people. And let's say they say, I want to do something else. I want to be a pole dancer. Now, they are not helping people, right? They're not healing people. That creates now this effect, this ripple effect that everybody, well, what do I do now? The doctor who's going to save my son is now a pole dancer. Who's going to save my son? So some other character has to change, go out of character and become a doctor. Right? Now we're changing reality. This is all live. This is, this is live streaming. This is reality. So it's like a live stage. Somebody goes down, we have to work around them. Someone doesn't show up, we have to work around it. Someone goes out of character, someone has to fill that other character. We need a doctor. Okay, so you're now the doctor. Well, I didn't want to study medicine. I didn't come here to be a doctor. Well, we need a doctor, and you're the next one in line. So you see how reality starts to fall apart if people start going out of character. So imagine there's 10 actors on a stage, right? And 2 guys are doing drugs. So they're out. They're rolling on the floor, throwing up. Actors. Another 2 people, they don't show up. Another person shows up late. That's 5. So what are the other 5 actors supposed to do? They have to work around it, right? They have to change the script. They have to improvise. And so you start jumping all of your scripts. You start missing things in your life, right? Because let's say I'm going along and I'm supposed to meet somebody, and that would change my career path. That person is now a drug addict, so I don't meet them. Therefore, I keep going straight. And therefore, later on in life, I feel like I missed something. Yeah, I missed something because somebody affected this character. Now, sometimes it is very synchronous. Sometimes things are synchronized perfectly. There's one important meeting that'll happen here. There's one important meeting that'll happen here. Now, if for some reason that person doesn't show up, or you get distracted, you don't know what you missed. And then you'll start to change your mind. You'll start to imagine new scripts, right? Because you didn't have the right contacts. Sometimes something is so important, there's an intervention. There's an accident. There's a car accident, and you end up in the hospital, and that person comes to the hospital. And they wouldn't have come had you not been in a bad accident. But that may have been constructed to get you people together, right? Because something needs to be said, something needs to be understood. Again, I'm simplifying reality, the opera, and I'm using extreme examples, okay? Because most of the time, things are very subtle, right? Chance meeting, somebody suggests you study this, someone tells you, but there's a job opening over there. It's very subtle, and you don't know if it's an accident, you don't know if it's there for a reason, right? And so it's more difficult to talk about those subtle things because they're difficult to really prove, right? They happen all the time. Things are said all the time. People tell me 100 things a day. But how do you filter through those things, right? How do you know what appeals to you? How do you know what kind of person you're attracted to? All these smart people, handsome people, wealthy people. Why are you attracted to certain kinds of people? Right? Why do you listen? Why do you respect certain kinds of people? Why do you look up to certain idols, a certain belief system? So all of that is programmed into your character so that you will live out your life, right? Without going too far off the path. Because when you go off the path, you affect everybody and you change reality. Now that's part of the challenge of life. The challenge of life is to stay on the path. And some people are very weak and they get distracted. The temptation, whether it's an addiction, whether it's a certain belief system, whether it's laziness, whether it's ignorance, we have these weaknesses. We all have them. You know your weaknesses. I have weaknesses. I know my weaknesses. So the challenge is to stay on the path. And when you forget, when you disrespect, when you devalue why you're here, right? When you try to be something else, that's when you start to fall off, right? The people who are doing drugs have no value for life. They don't know. They don't appreciate why they're here. They don't appreciate the fact that they're here. The fact that you are here, you went through this very lengthy process. You wanted to be here. You did everything to get here, and now you're on drugs. Seems like a silly thing to do. They don't value. They lost that value. We live in a world that they don't talk about reality like I'm talking about reality. That it's a manufactured reality, and that you come here for very specific reasons, purpose. Call it a higher purpose. Yeah. And you have to do, to my understanding, you have to do the things you have to do. You have to do the stuff. You have to go to work. You have to take care of yourself. You have to dress properly and be clean. And you have to have friends. You know, you have to eat. You have to do all those things. On top of that, you need to think about your higher purpose, what you came here to learn. So that's on top. You have to do all this stuff. Maybe you have to work at a terrible job for many years, right? Maybe. You have to do it. You're not special. That's part of the thing. That's the part you already decided. That we decided that for you. Yeah, I need to learn this stuff. Okay, well, you got to take this job. You're going to raise a couple of kids. Right? And before you came down, you're like, this is great. I'm going to have a couple of kids. I'm going to have a place. I'm going to work this job. I don't care. I'll work the job, and then I'm going to go home, and I'm going to have tons of energy. I'm going to be hyped up. I'm going to chase the truth. Right? And I got a few challenges. Oh, look at that. I got a couple of addiction. No problem. I'll take those 2 addictions right here. I can do it. This is going to be great. And then you incarnate, and you're like, you can't handle the drugs, and your marriage is in the garbage, and you're not taking care of your kids, and you're like, I can't do this, man. This is not what I signed up for, man. Life is hard. You chose it. You were, if we took a video of you before you incarnated, you're like, this is the life I want. I can do it. Give me the hardest life you can. Drugs, violence, difficulty, financial bankruptcy. I can take it. Yeah, the tough guy's like, you give me all the hard stuff, man. I'll sail through it. and I'm going to be on top of the mountain, right? Extreme living, extreme existence. You know, some guys, they'll climb Mount Everest in their underwear, right? Because we're tough. So before incarnation, you're like, give me the hardest life I can get. I want life E, extreme. I can do it. And then you come here and you're like, I'm on drugs, I don't know. You're in jail, you know, you've just given up. You didn't make it. I'm laughing because there are a lot of these cases. A lot of people, they thought, hey man, I can do it, no problem. And they come here like, oh my God, I didn't know it was so hard. Take some more drugs. I'm not an alcoholic. I just like drinking every hour. Right? And so you forgot your higher purpose. You didn't get through the basic stuff. Now you're not learning anything. And it's a waste. Right? So we're back on the stage, and you got actors rolling on the floor, throwing up. You got other actors fighting with each other. And you got a couple of actors trying to remember their lines, and they're working through all of this chaos. You got an actor who shows up, and then they get angry and they leave the stage, right? And then what happens to reality? So what happens to reality? So if we take 10 people on a stage, it's chaos, right? Because if only 2 people know their lines and the other 8 people are just a disaster, we have no play. We have a chaos, right? And the audience is throwing up or laughing. So you multiply 10 people to 7 billion. And you've got a messed up world. And why? Because we forgot why we came here. And there's a reason why you came here. And the reason why you came here, the television is not going to tell you. In fact, the television will tell you the opposite. Right? So you have to get back to why you came here. And you need to live out your life. And that means we are individuals working together as a cast. And if everyone does what they're supposed to do, everything gets done. You don't have to worry about the other guy. You have to worry about yourself. What am I supposed to do? And I'm going to do it the best I can. Right? Because the moment you start to think about all the other actors, the whole play falls apart. Because that's their job. Right? And so try not to get influenced by all of these distractions and temptations. Now, secondly, let's just finish it with this, is that some of the cast, like I said, some of the cast members on the stage are just there as props. They're just there. They may not, not every individual came here with a purpose. Some people are just here to help you live out your purpose. So some characters are just background characters, right? This thing about equality, it doesn't work in a reality science, because some characters are just here. Some characters are kind of mid-level characters, and some characters are here to live out, right? So there's a distribution. So remember that. So play your character. And if you don't know your character, learn your character. Remember your lines. And do the best you can. And if you're off the path now, in many cases people are off, right? They've accumulated a lot of baggage and karma. If you're off, try to get back on the path and stay on the path. And it doesn't matter if your path is maybe not so glamorous, right? That's not the point of coming here. The point of coming here is not to be rich and famous. The point of coming here is to learn, right? It's to learn, to live out your life, the life that you chose. I didn't choose your life. You chose your life. I'm just trying to remind you, I'm reminding you that you may not be living the life you chose because you've been distracted. You've been brainwashed. You've been manipulated. Get back to why you came here and who you are. Okay? Get back into the opera. And that's all it is. It's just, it is. You're playing an existential character in a very advanced reality opera. It's very advanced. It's the latest technology.